Greetings, fellow platformers. This is Wood Creation coming at you live from the land of abandoned souls. And I'd like to welcome you all to our first ever platforming for beginners. In this first post, we'll be discussing the materials list and a suggested tools list to construct your platforms with. Please note, the examples that I'm going to show you here are just that. They're simply examples. You need to select materials and tools that you're comfortable with working with. There is no right or wrong way with building a platform. There's only your way. We're simply here to try to help you get going in the right direction. Let's start with our materials list. First, with this class, we're going to be working with foam. So we're going to ask that you guys get 3 pieces. If you can get the 2-inch foam, that's great. That's what I'll be working with. We'll be looking for a larger piece for the base, roughly 2 feet by 2 feet. A second piece can be any size, just smaller than your big piece. 10 by 20 or 10 by 12, whatever you want, just as long as it's smaller. And the third piece is any size you want. It's just going to be a scrap piece. So if you need to practice carving or doing detail work or whatnot before you apply it to your big platform, that's what that piece is for. It's just a scrap piece. Some of you might not be able to get 2-inch foam. In the warmer regions, it might only be available in a 1-inch. If that's the case, we can work with stacking it. Don't glue anything until we get to that stage, because a lot of times the tools won't make it through the glue. So we'll do our carving, then glue it together. The next thing I want to go over real quickly is paint. I like to use acrylic paints. I would probably think that most of the villagers do use acrylic paints. You're going to want to select a color palette that's going to match your platform. Don't rush out and get your paints yet. We can figure out what color scheme and whatnot you're going to be working with as you go. If you just go out and buy a whole big rainbow of colors, so be it, then you'll be set. If you're going to be doing a Halloween setup, we're going to be carving both rock and pathway formations. So if you're creating a Halloween set and you're doing rock, you might end up wanting to go with 3 colors, like 2 light colors of gray, a dark color of gray, and a black. If you're going with Christmas colors, you might go with a white, a light blue, and a dark blue. Again, we'll worry about the colors as it gets a little bit closer. A couple of examples that I have here are from my Halloween setup. The top one is from my Skull Falls. It was rock. That's 2 grays and a black. The bottom rock formation is from my Coffin Island. I wanted it to look bloody, so all of my colors were reds and oranges. So just keep in mind what your idea and what your vision is for your platform, and that's the colors that you'll end up using. The next thing I want to go over real quickly is glue. Because we're going to be making a 2-tier platform, you're going to need some kind of adhesive. All kinds of glue out there. You can use the Titebond wood glue. You can use Elmer's white glue. I have a gallon of it here in the middle. You don't need a gallon unless you're going to be doing this for a long time and need it, but you don't need a whole gallon. You can get tacky glue. A lot of that's found at Michael's. I happen to like the Loctite Power Grip. You can get that from Home Depot. They have it in a squeeze bottle and caulk. I do a lot of home maintenance stuff, and I use that stuff on everything. That stuff really holds well. If you're uncertain as to what kind of glue to use out there, our group expert, Mike, made a great tutorial. It's located in the featured section. If you scroll up to the top of the page and look in the features, you'll find it there. Another thing that you guys are going to need for this is some paper or cardstock. Probably cardstock would be better if you can get a hold of it. Paper is just fine. Probably need about 3 or 4 sheets of that. Towards the end of the class, we're going to be doing some kind of ground covering. You can get flocking. You can get this from any hobby store. If you live by a train hobby shop, go to a train store, they have all kinds of stuff there. You can use mosses from Michaels and Hobby Lobby. Anything that you think you can cover the base with at the end for the ground cover. And we'll talk about that more as we get closer to it, but that's something to keep in mind. At the end, I'll demonstrate static grass. If you decide to go static grass, you have to have the applicator. So get yourself an applicator, a couple different static grasses, and you can use whatever glue. They come with the glue and I use that. I've been very happy with it, but any glue will work. Some of the miscellaneous products that we'll be looking at, Mod Podge. This will be used if you want to seal your styrofoam at the end. It helps preserve it. Also at the end, I'm going to demonstrate how to do a water feature. So if anybody wants to do a water feature, I use Mod Podge with that. Also resin. So if you're going to think about maybe doing some kind of a small pond or whatever with this, just to try it out, get yourself some resin as well. Again, these two things are not required. It's a miscellaneous thing, and if you want to go for it, go for it. And we'll demonstrate how to use that stuff later on. With our tools list, I want you to remember you don't have to have all of the tools that I'm going to show you here. This is just to give you an example of what you can use. However, we are going to need you to have one kind of cutting tool and one kind of engraving tool of some sort. With the cutting tools, you can use a variety of different things. Harbor Freight sells this kit. It's $11. All kinds of handles, all kinds of blades. It's a steal for $11. You can use a regular X-Acto knife. For bigger stuff, bigger, quicker cuts, I like to use a squirrel saw. If it has a blade, it'll cut it. So, any kind of power tool that you have, you can use those as well. I also will be using a lot of the hot wire tools. So if you guys have hot wire tools, these are great. If you don't have any of this stuff and you have a steak knife in the kitchen drawer, I always say if you can stab it, you can carve it. So whatever you can use to carve the foam with, by all means, whatever you're comfortable with, that's what we'll use. In terms of engraving tools, you can use a couple of different things there as well. You can use a Dremel. You can use a wood burning tool. The wood burning tools have interchangeable pieces. They have knives, different pointed sections, different patterns. These work really well. You can use a soldering iron. The hot wire toolkit comes with an engraving tool. That thing works really well as well. Some of the miscellaneous tools that we would like you to have: some kind of a tape measure or ruler. I like to use the metal straight rulers. They're a little more accurate, but if you have a tape, that's fine. You'll need some scissors, something to draw with, marker, pen, pencil, whatever, and some paint brushes. You'll also need some kind of a paint palette, whether you get one from the store or use a good old-fashioned paper plate. Either way is fine. The first course will be posted on February 12th. At that time, you'll need the foam, the paper. You're going to need whatever buildings you put on there, your cutting tool, your engraving tool, and the miscellaneous tools. And I'll have them all posted, written out at the bottom of the post here as well. Again, you can hold off on getting glue and paints until you need them as we go. And that way you'll have a better idea as to what you'll need. Any questions, feel free to post. This is just to get you going. The big thing, again, make sure you have the 3 pieces of foam. That's the big thing. And your houses. And then we can kind of go from there. So, look forward to working with you guys. We'll see you on the 12th. Stay creative. And as always, happy building.